Our lives and everything we can perceive within and outside of ourselves are all in a constant state of flow. I wonder how well you can see this for yourself, especially as you look at this video. Perhaps you see the trees and the rocks. They may all seem stagnant to you and to us, but these things are also all in a constant state of flow. The better you can realize this through the basis of insight, because it's pretty clear if you take time to look at a tree, hours or however long, it's not going to look like it's in a state of change. And this is because relative to our own perspectives, things are going to appear a certain way. On the grand scale of 1,000 years, the tree is not going to seem so permanent. It's a very similar argument in terms of our own psychological functions. Everything about ourselves, down to our thoughts, our sense of self, what we believe, what we perceive, these are all in a constant state of flow. And the sooner we understand this, the sooner we realize that once we apply a sense of agency or a sense of ownership to various parts of our lives, the sooner we are going to lead ourselves into psychological suffering. It's a very simple analysis. If everything around us is in a state of flow, meaning it's moving towards a different direction, and anything you look at is changing over time, how could it be that holding on to some of these things with a sense of permanency is not going to lead to eventual misunderstanding or confusion? Whenever we understand this, we start to let go of sense of ownership or control to different things. Now, at the same time, we want to be careful, because if we take this too far, we lose the beauty of our own life in the short glimpse of several decades that we have. If you discard that and you see everything as a permanent state of change, and that's all you can see, you're going to get lost in that type of view as well. Ideally, we can find a mixture of both together. We recognize through insight the truth about our existence in terms of its constant state of flow, this body, this sense of self, this being that's talking to you. These are all part of a transitory phase, things that are constantly in flux. It may appear as one body, and it may feel that way as well, but we know over time our bodies change in ways that we don't intend. We age, we get sick, we decay. All of these different things are evidence that everything about us is in a state of flow. However, we have to also appreciate what's in front of us at any given moment. This is the second part of what I'm talking about. Ideally, we see everything with a balanced view or a balanced perspective, right? We understand that in a certain way, yes, we do have a sense of self, and it seems to stay with us for most of our life. If you get dementia or something, that could be a different story. But for the most part, it is there, it feels stable, and that's good. But we also need to recognize the state of flow that these things are in as well. So how can you do both together? How can you realize that you are always in this state of flow, state of change, yet you are also here in this very moment, and you feel, psychologically, you feel that you are here, and this is who you are, and it's stable? Well, this balance is going to come through your own practice and your insight. If you can have both of these together, then you will be able to not only shift between both of these views, but you will also be able to ideally not adhere to either of these views, because you gain an insight that what you truly are is the foundation with which flow can even occur, right? If we think of a river, or if we think of something that's in a state of flow, what is it flowing within? That is a very important and key insight. You are that which is always changing. That which is changing is within you, and you are within that. If this sounds really vague and difficult to understand, that's because it is. This entire experience I'm trying to draw from is, I would say, almost purely nonverbal, but it can be realized and experienced for yourself. It's kind of like looking at a snow globe. People are often so enamored by shaking the snow globe, seeing the snow, perhaps the little snowman in the middle, and then watching everything settle, and then they move on. You can shake the globe as many times as you want. You will always see a state of flow. But how often is it that we consider the very sphere, this clear, difficult to perceive, and subtle sphere with which all of these experiences, all of these snowflakes and the snowman are encapsulated by? If you can learn to realize that for yourself, because that has always been there, this ultimate reality, can't think of a better way to explain it. If you can learn to realize that for yourself, that's when you can see, by looking at anything, by looking at the state of flow that's all around us, even within yourself, you can see that this flow has a certain type of connection to this fundamental basis that you are. This is a very, very important key insight for the psychology of awakening, because it gives you a grounding, so to speak, so that no matter what it is you are going through, whatever flow it is that you are experiencing, the distress of change, lack of control, and loss of sense of control or agency, you have a grounding within all those things. Don't really know how to describe that grounding, but you are it, right? By the very nature of existing in this reality and being a sense of self, or whatever it is you want to call yourself, you are connected, interconnected with this ultimate reality. So the fundamental takeaway here is that realizing all things are within a state of flow, and also realizing that you feel like a stable sense of self, these are not conflicting views. I don't want you to get lost on either side, right? If you see everything as a constant flow or a constant state of change, then it's going to be difficult to enjoy your life. You might think, what's the point? I'm just a flow. Why does it even matter? On the other hand, if you see yourself as this sense of self and constancy and all these different things, it's going to be difficult to realize the flow of reality, and you will be quite surprised whenever you develop a hardship in life, right? How could this happen to me? How could this marriage come to an end? How could I get this disease? I was always that guy. Why am I this person now? Right? So we want to balance both of these together. And that comes through various types of practices, most importantly, basis of insight, again, which I've talked about many different times, the basis of understanding from a more holistic and complete sense, but also balancing that flow of who you are at any given moment.